Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Business of Boutique Fitness. I'm Lisa Keeker. I'm joined today by the amazing Heather Garrick. It is swelteringly hot outside. Actually, maybe not sweltering. Actually, for you, it probably is sweltering.
Yeah, for me, I'm used to British weather. It's very hot outside here in Charlottesville, and so we've got summer on our mind, haven't we?
We have got summer very much on our mind, and you know, I think when you think studios and summer, it's never a pretty moment. I think the whole fitness industry, to some degree, cringes over summers. You know, we've heard the summertime slump. I mean, that is, I'm sure, trademarked by someone in our industry. I apologize to them for using it. If it's not, it should be, because legitimately, you know, this is a time where for most people, our clients start traveling, cancellations start piling up. We start to recognize that things just don't look the way that they did the rest of the year. Marketing just doesn't work in the same ways, and for a lot of people, this is the season that it seems like they really fear, as if they're overwhelmed by
Yeah,
it.
that's right. But it definitely doesn't have to be inevitable, that this slump. And I think what we're really here to do is to reassure people that there are actions that you can take to help prevent this. There's definitely, I think, many studio owners out there who you start to see attendance dwindling, things falling off, and they're like, oh, this is not the time to do anything. Actually, it can be a great opportunity to really kind of build up your base over the summer and then really be ready to go then into the fall with great momentum.
I love this. So, talk to me about why, in your mind, the summertime slump happens. You come from an amazing marketing background. This is something that, in my mind, marketers look for patterns. They look for trends, and they're very aware of seasonality. And we can embrace that seasonality. Well, actually, let me say this before we jump in. Your seasonal slump, and maybe seasonal is the better word for this right now, is going to be unique based on where you're at. If you're sitting at the summer, for 80% of studios, they're going to see a slump that will be seasonally in the summer. However, if you're sitting in an amazing ski town, your seasonal slump may actually be the spring and the fall, when it's maybe just not peak season to travel. They're actually, you know, summertime people are coming to hike, wintertime people are coming to ski. Fall and spring is where this is. If you're in a college town, we're sitting in a college town right now, January may be a massive slump for you because schools don't come back until February. So recognize that wherever you're at, this is looking at your seasonal slump on this is. But summertime is unique. I mean, what do you see that causes
So
this?
typically, I mean, it's all about routine, really. We know that as studio owners, you want to be getting people into a routine so they are regularly coming to you. You're part of their life, whether that be once a week, twice a week, or more, but you're part of that routine. And the problem with summer is it disrupts that, right? The routine is out of the window, whether that be children being off school, not having the time to go out and work out as much. I know I'm in that situation at the moment. Whether that be travel, be kind of out of routine in that way, it disrupts it. And it often means that then kind of studio attendance drops off. So first, like kind of routine disruption. Also, I know this is the case when I've kind of had studios in the UK, it happens a little bit more, I think, in that we can't guarantee nice weather. So we don't have that guarantee in the way. But when the weather comes and it is nice, everybody makes the most of it because they think, okay, this might be my 1 week that I'm going to get the sun. And we see attendance drop off hugely. So it really, really strongly correlates with weather and people wanting to be outside. And one of the things that actually we kind of did to try and counteract that was be thinking about, well, in our climate, are there things that we can be doing to actually offer classes outside, get people out, tick that box, but they're still working out. So yeah, when it comes to the reason why summer is an issue, it's definitely disrupted routine. People also kind of maybe not quite so much in the mindset. We all know you kind of have those couple of times a year where you're in that the September and the January. Okay, I'm restarting afresh. This is where we see really, really strong attendance in the fitness industry. Whereas in the summer, people have a tendency to maybe let things go a little bit more, like not quite put so much pressure on themselves.
Just relaxed on where this is. And don't forget travel. I remember we saw this in Australia when they suddenly reopened that people could travel, that next summer, people weren't taking 1 week trips. They were taking 6 week trips. And we were talking to studio owner after studio owner after studio owner who's like, what has happened? And so, recognize that depending on where you're at and also who you cater to, if you're catering to clientele, they're going to have children that are kind of in that, let's just say 30 to 55-year-old range. Summers are going to be something that look very different. That being said, interestingly enough, there's an awful lot of people and cultures that really are like, September is my reset. We work a lot in France. In France, everything starts right after the 1st of September. It's like you're cued in. You don't need children. You don't need to have ever had children. You will start when school starts. And that is just an expectation on where this is. And I think if you know that, and you know that this is going to be an issue, you can start to first put some things in place on this one. So let's start talking, summer strategy playbook on this one. First thing for me, and I think this is really clear, is I did recognize whether my revenue was going to drop or not. And that's a very different thing because of how you set up your business. Your revenue doesn't need to drop. I was going to have more freedom during the summer. Just no two ways around this. So the very first thing I did is I did adjust my schedule. Like that was a without of my doubt. You adjusting your schedule down 20%, that's enough where even if you're saying to some teachers, you're going to be filling in, in a variety of different classes, these upcoming weeks rather than having a ready, steady class, I'm going to drop down to the classes that are going to be at my most full. It's going to limit labor costs. It's going to give people a lot more flexibility to travel themselves, because oftentimes we're finding they want to travel too.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you also have instructors wanting to go off and be out off the schedule. So it's an opportunity. Yeah.
100%. And I think maybe the loveliest thing is you've built a ready base of subs who may not be regularly on the schedule, but we actually will ask our teachers that are coming back in September, we would request and say, hey, would you sub 8 times this summer? This is really important, by the way. If you know you're going to do this, we would normally set up our summer schedule in April. And so if I was looking, and let's assume if summer started for me in the US, we count Memorial Day, which is at the end of May, as kind of the start of summer. In the UK, probably school gets out, the third week of June?
July. Yeah, I know. It's very different. Yeah, so it was the 22nd of July this year. So
okay, so ignore everything I said. So in a number of parts of Europe, third week of June. In the UK, July. Take where your summer is on this one. And 2 months before that, that's when you want to say, share with me all of your plans for the summer travel. Tell me what's going on. Tell me when people are going to be in and out. What I find is that if I do it then, if I limit my schedule, if I say, hey, each person has got 8 subs that they're giving me over 8 weeks or 12 weeks, I can pretty much cover my summer and have everyone feel like they have the freedom as instructors, everyone feel like they have all of those things. And I can also back off on some of my core fixed costs during that time.
Yeah, that's great. It's such an important part to be prepared early for this and be thinking about it really, really early. So when it comes to kind of thinking about then like that summer programming and how you maybe want to be enticing new members in, I've seen several ideas work really well here. So I mentioned before the outside like pop-up classes, which work really well. It is always still a bit hit and miss in the UK, whether you're going to be like drenched in the downpour. But it's lovely being able to get outside. It's also a great opportunity actually as a bit of a marketing tool to have people walking past and seeing, oh, okay, what's going on here and where's this classroom? So it's a great marketing tool in that way. You might want to look at things like a summer sweat series, have limited time challenges that incentivize people to come in a particular amount of time over the summer. For example, like take 10 classes before 31st of August. And you could build in short-term packs there as well that have got an expiry date before the end of the summer. What I would strongly advise here is, having done this before, you need to be really clear with people about the expiry dates of those, because particularly when you're used to, if people are used to you having 10 class packs, 20 class packs, and then you bring in this summer series, there will be an expectation that the terms and conditions are the same as your other ones. And so you just want to be very clear, and if possible within the kind of the booking process, when those expire, because you don't want to end up with issues at the end with people not having used them and feeling like they've been missold.
I think We have actually had a lot of success with clients, to touch back on the outdoor programming piece of this, that have worked with their cities and towns to actually be paid rather significantly for outdoor programming. And so we have a studio group we've worked with for a long time up in New York, several in Toronto that are paid $500 to $1,000 a class. These are oftentimes sponsored by local businesses. It's an outdoor series on this is. Realtors, by the way, love to sponsor this. They're like, property companies are just like, yes, please let me come. They pay the sponsorship. You all of a sudden have this. Make sure if you're doing outdoor classes, you will need to sign a waiver and liability. We recommend having a member of your team there for roughly every 25 to 30 participants for check-in purposes. So you're going to want to make sure you get waivers and liability signs, get names, emails, phone numbers. And I recommend having a specialty summer pass available for sale then, something that's inexpensive, a summer intro offer, something of the like. We oftentimes will sell those all summer long just at our summer series. They can only be bought there. So it's a special QR code they can grab. We make it very simple. We make them very inexpensive. And this is something where, we have some of our studios doing actually significant numbers, 150 of these intro packages a month during the summer. And again, those have unique terms and conditions. They have to be used during the summer, but it's an easy way to really be excited. Also think of whom you can partner with. I'm married to a Minnesotan, makes British weather look lovely in the winter. We have some amazing clients in Minnesota. They partner with lavender farms. They partner with wineries. They partner with a variety of breweries. They've partnered with places where people want to go. And this is where I think you get creative. If you've slimmed down your schedule by 20, 30, 40%. And by the way, that's not uncommon to see schedules slim down that much during the summer. So if you're like, oh my gosh, there's no way, that's actually very typical with our larger studios to see, upwards of a 40% reduction. You've made room for some really creative and exciting experiences for people. They're not doable in many markets the rest of the year on this. Consistency.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I'm like, please. I mean, we know that you need to be consistent. Like, I think we know that as fitness people, it's very obvious. If you want to be strong, if you want to be flexible, if you want to see benefits from your practice, the only way that's going to happen is if you're encouraging people to have a consistency on this one.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's something that you don't need to shy away from when you're talking to your members about it. It's like, address the fact summer is coming up. We know that maybe your schedule is going to be a little bit out of whack. We want to be able to help and support you with your regular practice, give them a reminder of the reasons why they're coming, and to maybe start to kind of plan in, okay, so you're not going to be able to come on Tuesday evenings anymore. When may suit you? How can we work around that? Because it then also, it can become a bit of a barrier, I think, for people then coming back in September. We all kind of know about this mentality of like, oh, I've got out of the practice, maybe, it's so much harder to get back into it, and potentially then lose people for good. So keeping them coming in is incredibly important there.
Side note on all of this, there's some great things that happen during the summer you can piggyback on. Like every time the Olympics rolls around, as cheesy as it may be, people love doing things like that. They love competing on this one, doing a round of some type of bingo, make it chic. Yes, bingo can be chic, and it can certainly be fun. I wonder if we can mahjong this up, like something like that. I got to get very creative with how that would look. But I think if you start to lean into that, cycling studios have done this for years with the Tour de France and events that naturally happened in the summers. I think really leaning into those is not a bad thing on this. Referrals. I mean, this is probably one of our single most important things that we push during the summer. I think it's something that we would love to have. I'm sending Ashley you want to go around? Y'all, go to the side. We're almost interrupted. I did go on ahead and interrupt the podcast. Sorry, y'all. This is what happens when you have a whole team coming in town for filming on this one. You do
this
what you
is
will.
what happens when you're live. Okay.
August in the last few years has turned into our number one referral month. It's something where we really push friends and family. We pull in member appreciation events. Guys, you don't want to do this during busy months. Like you won't have the time, the space to do it correctly for your members to do things like this. So suddenly if you do this now and you tie referrals into this, you have such a different experience for this. And I did the numbers. I pulled the numbers on this about 2 weeks ago for someone because, as we're filming this, it's the end of this summer as we're filming ahead on this. Looking at this, it was amazing. We were averaging about 30 intro packages a week during our August win back and referral campaigns. Win back is when we're trying to bring back people who maybe bought an intro package and didn't join as a member, former members, former package holders. Of course, referrals, bringing things in from current members where they're referring their friends and family. And so I think this is a time where you can really lean into marketing that isn't traditional paid advertising, because I don't know about you, but I actually dropped marketing spend during the summer.
Yeah, absolutely, because you really want to be focusing your marketing spend on the time when you're going to be capturing the most interest, like is the demand there in the market. So referrals are a great one. I think particularly because you have that bit extra capacity to be able to do things like bring a friend for free, that you've got those space in that classes to be able to do that. The other thing to maybe think about is around school holidays, if like we've got parent groups who are looking for different things to do, whether or not you have children's programming as part of your schedule. I haven't told you this, but my gym is like adults only. They don't do any children's programming at all. But just last week they launched this like Little Lifters class, it was really sweet. Yeah, and it was basically it's not going to ever become a part of their kind of regular scheduling. But in the summer they have excess capacity, and it's that time that people are not going to be coming for classes anyway. They're kind of 11:30 till 12:30. But they were running mums classes still at the same time, because they knew the mums are still wanting to come in and train, but they haven't got anyone to kind of look after the older kids. And so they split the gym in half. They kind of put some like big kind of foam barriers in the way, and the kids were there doing their chin-ups and on the like assault bar, and they absolutely loved it. And then the mums could still come and train. So it was never going to be like turning into like that being their long-term strategy, but in those quieter periods where they've got the space in the studio, it was a really lovely thing for them to be able to do.
One other piece of this, just recognizing in fully on this is, you can do something for a hot moment. Mm-hmm. You can do a pop-up right now. You can do collaborations. You can do things that engage other people. Like when you think sales strategy on this, I love the Little Lifters because that is as much a marketing as it is a sales strategy on this. But, you can be, are you going to go to, and do something that's 2 weeks long? Are you going to have something that is a true event as part of this? I think you can think very differently when it comes to sales. And I think this is a season where, again, I can't stress this enough, you get to have fun. Mm-hmm. And when you approach it this way, I can't tell you how many of our studios now, August is a top 4 month performance-wise. Historically never has been for any of them, but that tells you what it can be when you just embrace the fact this looks a little different, this is a little different, we can do things differently on this. Now, when it comes down to marketing messaging, I feel like, so in the US, we're grappling with Memorial Day, July 4th, and Labor Day, which means that digital advertising is insanely expensive because every e-commerce brand is marketing away. What do we need to do in terms of messaging on this?
Yeah, so you can definitely get really community focused with it. It doesn't necessarily have to be all like online digital advertising. So really having a very kind of community driven message. Address specifically what's going on over the summer, that you can talk about, the summer's wild, but that doesn't mean that your wellness has to take a break. Still prioritize yourself over the summer. if you're running those kinds of events that we were talking about before, that's a great opportunity for content on your kind of organic socials, potentially getting kind of influencers along, people sharing these fun things that you're doing that may be slightly out of the ordinary. It's a great opportunity to kind of boost that community awareness. We'd say still keep things pretty light over the summer, like keep that copy quite light. It's not quite so serious. And there's a great opportunity to kind of attract a new audience, I think, over that time.
I love that. I love that. Talking about attracting new audiences, you're going to have both your clients who are traveling, people who are likely traveling into your area. I think don't forget on those things. If you're in an area where you're going to have a lot of tourists, travelers passes are a critical piece of this. We normally have things set up in those areas where you can't buy an introductory package if you don't have a local driver's license or a local bill or something. Like this is really important if you're in like a major resort area, beach town, something of the like. A traveler's pass is going to be a week-long pass. It's going to be a lot less expensive than someone who's coming in for, let's just say, drop-ins on this, but is obviously going to be less of an investment than if you were buying a 10-class pack or something of the like. If you have clients that are traveling, think about what kind of digital events you can do. I mean, like these don't have to be anything incredibly fancy, but you can do some things that are very simple, that are digital meetups, that are going to be during your most popular class times. Like a great example, we have a client who is doing a live stream of their 9 a.m. Saturday morning class, which is their number one time. They've actually, in this case, to keep it simple, they're not just live streaming their main class. They've taken a very popular instructor. They're doing a live stream that's going in. If you're an active member during that time, you can tune into those. A lot less expensive to have 2 or 3 of those classes at peak times a week that people can join and that clients that are traveling can readily join. And to speak to what you said earlier, it keeps people in the mindset that they are in a routine.
Yeah, absolutely. And people love being able to kind of take their instructors away with them on holiday via like that virtual content of being able to still connect. Exactly. Yeah. It's a great opportunity. That I think the point about those kind of travelers passes is a really great one. It's definitely something we see in London a lot, the need for. And the good thing about it as well is it actually kind of helps you understand that audience that's coming in, that when you're going then to kind of retarget people and thinking about who can we convert into long-term members, the knowledge that they bought that traveller pass and that they're not within the area just really helps us be able to say, okay, they're not the ones that we're going to be focusing on with these messaging, and really drill down into those people who are kind of part of your community.
I love. Team, you are probably have a moment of during the summer. We touched on this before. Your team does too. Obviously, changing the schedule, adapting to them helps. What else can you do for team members during the summer in your mind that really gives them that moment to like say, I still feel like I've had my summer?
Yeah, so definitely making sure that they've got, as you said before, planning in their time, their schedule, that they're incentivized to take their breaks at a time when you are less busy, because what you really want to be doing is building your team up to know, okay, we know that September's coming, we're going to have a lot of people in through the doors, we want you refreshed and ready to go during that stage. So absolutely kind of preparing them to take that content. Also thinking about other things like more forward looking, what do you want to be doing within the business to start planning for, the end of the year, next year and beyond. Absolutely. Like this is an amazing opportunity. To be thinking about, okay, so what's the budget for next year going to look at? Use that downtime to your advantage to be able to think about those things that you don't normally get an opportunity to do in the really crazy busy times.
Yeah. And this is also a time where if you're going to give back to your community, this is a time when you have the strength and you have team members that need to be invigorated. You have space, you have time. 2 things we did a lot during the summers that I go back to over and over and over again. The first is we did Friday volunteer days. And so every Friday at 11 a.m. our team was off. On some Fridays they were fully off, and their only requirement is they had to pick an organization to volunteer with. So if they took their kids to the local animal shelter and they walked dogs for 3 hours that day, that was fantastic. If they had one team member who mowed all of his elderly neighbors' yards, which was he's literally Daniel is one of the kindest humans on the planet, but he would spend all day mowing, and he was like, I feel like I've just given back so much, because he had all these little little 70, 80, 90-year-old women who were walking out with cookies for him and things like this. But there's something to be said, like this is a time where you can encourage your team, like how can they give back? The other thing that we did is you have got very deserving people in your community that are rarely recognized. For me, that is almost always people within the school system. Nurses fall into this. Nurses and first responders got a lot of recognition around COVID. That has historically not been the case, though, on this. And so we actually took, for the school system, we went into every school, normally at the beginning of summer, but sometimes at the end of summer. And we would do a luncheon where it would be a teacher work day. We would buy relatively simple lunches, sandwiches, things of the like. We'd bring in coffee and we would do a giveaway for a teacher membership. It was a very simple thing. We didn't go in with some crazy thing. Did we have a teacher membership that we could sell to everyone? Yes, we did sell many of them during those days. But we did it because this was our chance to give back, to be there, and to be a part of this. So know that there's some other things that you can do that are very much deeply rooted in the community that I think can make all of the difference for some of your employees to have that like lift of who they are.
I absolutely love that. That's such a great way to kind of capitalize on the summer. It's a lovely story.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun. So as we wrap this up, opportunities abound in the summer.
Yeah, that's right. It's just, don't let summer slump kind of put you off from taking action, because there's so many things that can be done over this period, and exciting things too. I think your point about like keeping it fun, keeping it light, this is your opportunity to maybe try things that you wouldn't do other times of the year. And you never know, you might be able to discover something amazing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So for those of you heading into summer, we can't wait to see you have the best summer of your life, and certainly the most fun that you've ever had inside of your studio. Now, if you have been listening or watching, please like this episode, give us a follow, leave a comment, and share how you're going to use this in your studio, and share this with your other studio owners. This is something that we want to make sure is a message that is shared far and wide. Thank y'all so much for joining us.